Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the Citronauts put the big squeeze on the good guys, and the Red Raiders have a Central Florida problem.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. They put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work. That defines you. So stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. Welcome back to God's country, fresh off a trip to Orlando, where it doesn't go the way we want it to go. Texas Tech takes the L on the road against Central Florida. We've got a UCF problem developing now, 3 straight going the wrong way in the series for the good guys. We'll talk about where this one broke down on the court for the Red Raiders. We did see some size back in the mix as well, as Luke Momboye makes his long-awaited return. Yet with more size, you took one of the worst beatings you've taken this season on the glass. How you figure? We'll get to a whole lot more on those fronts and in between, as now we got just about zero time for moaning, weeping, and feeling sorry for ourselves as Big Monday is knocking on your doors. The Kansas Jayhawks. Oh, yeah, they're still in the league. Yes, coming to town this week. So we'll get to that on our next episode, Chris, but want to get your take courtside there in Orlando. What it was looking like is really it was set up very, very well for the Knights to take advantage of this resume building wise. Nice record, not a whole lot of credibility top 25 wise yet, but man, they go out and take it. So I want to give them credit. And there really was never a moment where I felt like Tech was in control of this game. There were some times where I thought as a fan, like, okay, maybe this is where we take control. You'd have a little dose of momentum. But it seemed like Central Florida always had a shot to be made on the other end of the floor when you would. So plenty of credit to them, I guess, and plenty of frustration as a Tech fan, unfortunately, that it goes that way.
Yeah, this one, I guess this trip to Orlando and then the one in Morgantown next week, these were 2 tricky, sneaky ones. I mean, UCF is clearly better than West Virginia, but these are just – and these are games that teams that go on to win the league, they figure out a way to win, even though they're not at their best. And you're probably not in that category now. I don't know if you were even before this game, but just the margins in this league are razor thin, and UCF is good. I mean, they've got. And there's some concern there. I don't think it's not like panic button or anything, but I mean, you just didn't really have it. And after, was the extra time off? Did you get lulled to sleep? Was the winter storm and just kind of the whole thing? Did you get lulled to sleep after a monster win over Houston? Are you trying to incorporate some of these guys back in your rotation and it's affected things? I don't know. I don't really buy into any of that. I think part of it is it was pretty much a perfect situation for UCF in a Saturday home game. It's tough to win at other places on the Saturday afternoon. Much easier to slip up on somebody in the middle of the week oftentimes. But they just kind of had more want to than you did. And they got to every loose ball, and they pretty much control. I mean, they kicked you, I mean, they did. They beat you up. They wanted it more, and I think it probably says something about how good you ultimately are, your ceiling, in that I thought you played pretty poorly. And they were juiced up, and they're playing. I watched them the other night versus Arizona State. They didn't play well. This day they played phenomenal. And yet you still were kind of right in there with a 4 to 6 point game for most of the afternoon, but you just could never get over the hump. And it was, you would pick the time to have your worst possessions when you'd go get a stop and you had a chance to cut it to 2 or cut it to 1 or tie it, things like that. That's when the turnovers would come, because if you want to in its simplest form, you got your butt kicked on the glass, but then also they played a really clean game and you didn't. So they beat you up on the glass and then they didn't turn it over and you did. And then you go look at like what happens when they rebounded misses and then what they did off of your turnovers. It's pretty clear why you got beat. And Grant. So anyway, I know we've got more to go here, but I mean that's kind of where it summed it up because Grant kind of elaborated on that after the game.
39-7 in favor of the other guys if you combined second chance points and points off turnover. 39-7 is the margin. And you're exactly right. You saw UCF with only 6 turnovers on the day. You saw Texas Tech just kind of coming out sloppy right out of the gates. I still, I don't feel like this is a day where like Tech didn't show up or didn't get off the bus necessarily. So I don't feel like the week or anything like that. I don't really buy into all that. Like you were saying there, it's kind of hard to subscribe to it. And you still had moments where I felt like, all right, here's where they carve out, like I said a moment ago, a run and maybe you do take control. But Central Florida always had a shot to make on the other end. It seemed like every time you had a big one or you had something go your way, then boom, the net was swishing on the other end as well. So what do you do about it? Well, you pick yourself back up and you look ahead to the next opponent. But getting back to some of the size that was on the floor, I know it's only a handful of minutes for Bomboye, so I don't want to make too big of a deal out of that. But, Mosley's back in the mix as well. And I really just thought from a rebounding standpoint, Chris, what's going on? Is it just about want to? Is it just about circumstance? And I know that UCF has got some length. They've clearly got size to work with themselves. So maybe it's just a tough matchup. But you have not, other than against Purdue, and listen to this, Northern Colorado, been beaten worse on the glass than you were by UCF on Saturday. So what did you see rebounding-wise that stood out to you that really made the difference, you think, for them?
Well, it was like the exact like you switched roles with Houston from a week ago. It's like, hey man, we've been doing well on the glass and rebounding and doing our thing, and there's effort, and we're maxing out, and that's probably what Kelvin Sampson was thinking when he got to the podium a week ago, going, this hadn't happened in a while, and that's kind of how you felt here. It's like what changed? Because and it's like every time there was a loose ball, you couldn't grab it, but they could almost every single time. There's a few missed blockouts. Look, and the thing about UCF is you've played a lot of talent to this point. UCF is kind of on they're on an island in that this isn't a team that's got a lottery pick. They don't have a first team all Big 12 guy, but they have one of the oldest teams in the league. It's a bunch of guys that have been at 3, 4, 5 schools, Devin Cambridge included. And so what Johnny Dawkins does is a lot of this is just, there's some subtle nuances to it, but large in part, they get you spread out and they play one-on-one. This is like a G League team or like one of those teams that would just crush people in the rec, because they can all hoop. I think at times they can break down defensively. There's a front runner component to them, but you never put them in a position to doubt or point fingers, or they just controlled it. They just rolled the ball out. Let's go. I mean, let's get after it. And I do. I think that this is an older, longer athletic team, and they get you spread out. And this is one of the big picture problems that you're starting to see, because now the secret's kind of out. If you spread Texas Tech out and you just kind of play some one-on-one on whatever third of the floor that you want to do, and you pick on maybe a Jalen Petty or somebody like that, we can just score this way. And this is, I mean, it was Themis Folks that did it. He was kind of channeling Kingston Fleming's, and this is an older, crafty point guard that he literally more than once he looked over to Grant McCaslin. He was uttering the words, "Coach."
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and it's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. It's Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for, where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels just a little bit bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. And get this, if you're a new customer, bet only $5 and you're getting $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is done. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today's episode brought to you by Open Door Financial. And if you're a Red Raider balancing family and career this time of year, you're probably assessing the year gone by, forecasting for the future. And whether it's retirement, getting out of debt, leaving a legacy for your kids, or more, here's the thing: Open Door Financial is the one that's doing it the way that's best suited for you and your family's interests. Most advisors trying to sell something hit quotas, only working with clients with huge investment minimums, but that's not how they do it at Open Door Financial Advisors. And Chris, even better, it's a Red Raider that you're going to be talking with. Founded by a 2007 Texas Tech grad right here in Lubbock, and now over a decade and a half spent helping Red Raiders.
Yeah, Cowan, Derek lives in Lubbock. He's buying pizzas for the campers out there for before these football and basketball games, things like that. I mean, he gives back. I mean, he's a trusted Texas Tech guy. I know that so many people out there, whatever they're trying to do, they want to do business with fellow Red Raiders. This is your man. So, Derek Finley, phenomenal guy you can trust. And it doesn't matter if you're flush and trying to figure out what to do with it, or if you're just trying to budget and trying to get out of debt, anything in between, he's your guy. He will take care of you and get you pointed in the right direction.
That's right. Over a decade and a half serving Red Raider families across the country, one simple mission: helping you gain financial freedom and peace of mind, no matter where you are starting from. And it's a subscription-based, fee-only model, so never earning commissions on anything they're selling you, which means no hidden agendas, no investment minimums, only straightforward advice, all while living by West Texas values, truth, and grit. So if you're ready to work toward financial freedom, visit opendoorfa.com, opendoorfa.com to connect with Open Door Financial Advisors. Honest guidance for Red Raider families who want to take care of what matters most.
He literally, more than once, he looked over to Grant McCaslin. He was uttering the words, "Coach, he can't guard me," with a big smile on his face. And he wasn't wrong. So this is like, and Grant said it after the game to me. It was like, okay, life on the road is tough. And he's like, yeah, but it's not that they didn't know this team was good. I think this team is, they're 17-5.
Yeah.
They've now got wins over Kansas and over Texas Tech. They don't have a bad loss really on their resume.
Tournament looking team, right?
1,000%. Yeah. This is a team that is very close to punching their ticket, as long as the wheels don't fall off. But they're the only loss they have at home is against the number one team in the country in Arizona. And that was only by 7 points, I believe. But Grant said, look, we probably didn't have as physical of a practice last week, or practices, as we should have, looking back on it. And he's like, we have gotten much better with our team defense. We can play connected and all that, but when we get spread out and we've got to go one-on-one, we've got some issues. And I really don't know, because it's not going to stop on going against older and talented guards, because Rob Wright even did it. This is 3 Saturdays in a row where, like, the point guard for the other team really just kind of scores on you at will. And some of it by design, maybe, as we talked about with like Kingston Fleming's. Not that you wanted him to score, but there's a method to your madness, and like, okay, this is the choice we're making, and we're gonna try to limit it. But I don't know if maybe Tyree Bryan should be playing more, because the thing about Petty, he's been so good on the glass and so good from a scoring standpoint. Well, not yesterday. He just wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot there. So when he can't give you that, he's trying. I think he's actually a pretty good defender. He just happens to be going against very, very talented players that have been at this for a long time. And you've got a bit of an undersized guard that's in his freshman year, and he's getting thrown into the deep end of the pool. But that's what teams I think are starting to do, and it's so I don't know what, now that you've got a full rotation and maybe the 8 guys that you kind of thought you were going to count on, I don't know if you'll tweak something or kind of go back to, I don't know. I really don't know what that looks like, but it's becoming a bit of an issue.
It was cool to see JT Toppin get to come off the floor for like a split second. That was an interesting development. We did see Luke Bomboye return, 3 minutes. Way to go. Are you ready for 15 or 20 on Monday night? Would that be all right? What'd you make of Bomboye's return in just a flash of a second? And we'll get more into, obviously, on our next episode, getting ready for Kansas. But what's this upcoming week you think going to look like for him?
Yeah, well, he blocks 2 shots in like less than 3 minutes of play. I mean, so you can kind of feel it right there. I think that there was a time when I want to say maybe it was Watts that threw like an alley-oop. Looked like it was going to be maybe a shot, but he's throwing an alley-oop, and that you could just tell Luke realized what was happening about a second too late, maybe thinking he was going to shoot it. And so there's some chemistry issues that go with that, and just him being rusty. But along those lines, you see what he can bring to the table on the rim protection, because he definitely made his presence felt in a very small time. Josiah Mosley continued to be impressed there too. He basically almost doubled the minute output from a week ago. And he's let's see. So he has 6 points and he has 3 rebounds. He drew 3 fouls because of his ability to crash the lane. And he was in there in a lot of the crunch time. So these are 2 pieces that you're going to continue to incorporate. And this is we knew this was going to be the case. This is tricky. It's a slippery slope. Trying not to mess up what you've got going, but you're going to need these guys. You just weren't going to be able to realistically get to the finish line and go to where you want to go, which is trying to contend for the Big 12 championship, trying to make a deep run in March and all that, when you're just doing it with 4 to 5 guys. So this is a must. It's just kind of, and I'm not saying this is partly why you lost. At some point, you're going to have to acclimate. But I think you start to see some of the bright spots, and it was nice to see JT get some rest, because he did get 2 personal fouls in the first half, and now you've got the ability to go, okay, come over here, and you don't have to put freshman Nolan Groves in there or Leon Horner and say, hey, go guard a 6'11" dude. But
what a thought.
Yeah, but and this is the part about playing on the road in this league.
First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, and today's spotlight on JT Toppin, 27 and 10 in Orlando, and another double-double for the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year. And it's a performance like that reminds us of what it really takes to raise the bar. Competitive fire, true grit, and dialing in every detail. And Mazda puts that same passion into every model. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
And this is the part about playing on the road in this league. Like John Bowl, their starting center, he averages like 5 and 5, and he averages like 12 to 13 minutes. Well, he was the MVP in the first half, clearly, but I think he finished with like 14 and 10 and played 30 minutes. His length bothered you. And he was sweating profusely. So it's when you're on the road, it's those extra parts, those role players that seemingly elevate their game, and and then you have your best players doing their thing. Excuse me, goodness. John Bolt making me choke up. So, goodness gracious,
Don't let the length bother you. It's a new
day. That's right. That's right. But those are the guys that elevate, and he did, and I thought he was a huge reason why they won the game yesterday.
No doubt. I mean, you got Citronauts in the stands all going crazy. They were in a lather, to say the least. Was set up very well for them to take advantage of a resume-building opportunity, and they did that. Screw you, CF. 3 in a row? Are you serious? 3 in a row going the wrong way against these guys. I guess we got a bit of a problem, but until next time, we'll try and reverse that trend.
And I told you this before we started taping. Like, I get like doses of the realignment aspect at different times. The late tip-offs when we go west and you're in Salt Lake or you're in the Arizonas, whatever, it's like, oh, realignment. but I've never felt realignment more than being in Orlando. The 2 times that I've been there, they're waving palm trees. There's this half orange, half like astronaut meshed together, mascot. They're wearing the blue things when it comes to Space City. To which I've often wondered, didn't they originally say, Houston, we have a problem? Not to take up for the Cougs down in Houston, but it wasn't Orlando, we have a problem, right? I mean,
and that was, by the way, Canaveral blue, Chris. I think maybe if you didn't know, that's
okay.
Canaveral blue. I heard on the broadcast.
Okay, of course it was. It's just yeah. But hey, man, I guess you've played your way. And Grant said it to me after the game. He's like, we've done enough around here. We don't get teams B games. And I thought UCF played their A game. There's no doubt. And they stormed the court because you're really good. You're ranked, all the stuff. And so that's just kind of comes with it. And I'm not sure that your group was ready for all that yesterday. But credit to UCF. They're going to be a handful if they're not going to just roll through the rest of the league or anything, but I mean, they're going to win their fair share. They're going to go to the tournament, and they're going to be a handful in Kansas City. And if they'll stay healthy, they'll be a problem in the NCAA tournament for sure.
Multiple court stormings, chin-ups on the rim while the game is ongoing, middle fingers flying, class and sophistication from Orlando that only a Red Raider could appreciate. So I see you. Chris, appreciate a little extra time here to catch up on this one, and we'll wait about 30 seconds and resume because we got no time to ponder this one really any further. We got to get ready for the Kansas Jayhawks. Nothing foreign feeling about them coming to your building for a big Monday matchup. So we'll catch up and set the table for that one when we reconvene, man. Enjoyed it and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Note to self, you can storm the court. You can do chin-ups on the rim with the game still on with your students, and it's not a technical foul. There's no ramifications whatsoever. So precedent, has been set. Note to self. So
make a note.
Texas Tech fans. Yeah, that's right. All right, we'll talk to everybody next time. Yeah, big Monday coming up. It's a big one, folks.
Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Hope you'll join us for that one as we get ready for the Jayhawks coming up. Thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there, and the Matador Mob, including a few Orlando-based, East Coast-based Matador Mobsters we heard from as well heading into the weekend. So appreciate you all for being out there. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texting straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.